The Defensive Player of the Year award is probably the toughest award to confidently determine in the NBA. With the most improved player, you can define what improvement looks like, though there's some discussion to be had there. And for Coach of the Year, it's relatively straightforward to assess expectations and whether or not a coach met or exceeded them. But defense is much harder to quantify. Reliable statistics and analytics are lacking, leaving the rest of us with little more than an educated guess. Even using the eye test, truly evaluating defense requires a deep understanding of game plans, strategies, and on-court communication to determine whether a player is not just doing their job, but excelling at it. Not to mention, defensive responsibility varies significantly based on position. This year, the Defensive Player of the Year process feels even more uncertain than in previous seasons. Recently, Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors has emerged as the betting favorite, while the absence of Victor Wembanyama has added to the confusion. Wembanyama is leading the league in blocks by a wide margin, and he hasn't played a game since the second week of February. The award was nearly in his hands, but with health issues and the 65-game requirement, the DPOY conversation gets complicated now that he's ineligible. So here's the question. What happens when there doesn't appear to be an obvious candidate? Or is there an obvious candidate? As previously mentioned, Green has skyrocketed to the top of the betting odds, with Evan Mobley sitting in second and Dyson Daniels at a distant third. It feels like the recent shift for the Warriors since the Jimmy Butler trade has helped Draymond Green climb up the charts. He wasn't really pulling in the betting odds that way a month ago or even a couple weeks ago. This is certainly a new development. To add to his case, Draymond has used his podcast to promote his name as a serious candidate.
Paint the picture of you and the other defensive candidates.
No matter what the situation is defensively, I'm fit for it. I protect the rim. I can guard the pick and roll. I can trap the pick and roll and still guard my man without help, which I think is a skill that I have in the NBA that I don't think anyone else possesses.
Green, of course, is a reasonable contestant for the honor, and is one of the best defensive players every season. He hasn't really been injured or suspended much. The Warriors are good. The defense is very good of late, and Green's individual defense is still elite. It all adds up to a solid case for his second DPOY trophy. With Green, there's also a historical narrative at play. He has been outspoken about missing out on past Defensive Player of the Year awards, believing he should have more than one. He's particularly vocal about Rudy Gobert having 4 times as many as he does, despite Green being an 8-time All-Defensive selection, including 4 first-team honors. His defensive impact has shaped how teams approach that side of the game. Dyson Daniels, on the other hand, presents more of a statistical case. Daniels has arguably been the best wing defender in the NBA this season, not by gambling for steals, but by being physical and taking the ball away from opponents and shutting down scorers. His 206 steals in 67 games, or 3.1 per game, is a mark that hasn't been seen since Alvin Robertson back in 1991. If he plays the rest of the season, he's on pace for 236 steals, which would tie Michael Jordan for the 13th most in a single season. The challenge with Daniels' case is that the Hawks' defense is average, and statistically, the team's defense actually improves when he's off the floor. Now, that's not necessarily a reflection of his impact. On and off numbers can be misleading at times, but it does complicate his argument. Ultimately, when voters don't have an obvious candidate, they tend to gravitate towards a familiar name, a player they feel is due or someone who stands out statistically, like a Marcus Camby or Marcus Smart in previous years. This year, the standout name is likely Evan Mobley. Before Wemby's season ended, Mobley actually had a strong case to challenge him for Defensive Player of the Year. His consistency and defensive impact have been crucial in keeping Cleveland near the top of the Eastern Conference. Despite the team's offensive evolution into something historically great, the Cavs haven't had to compromise on defense, and Evan Mobley is a huge reason why. Now, to be clear, he doesn't have the flashy stats, but based on impact, he probably deserves to be leading this race. But here's the thing, with every NBA debate or every award, the criteria matters. It's the reason the MVP discussion is often more complicated than we might realize. Draymond Green winning the award would be a good story, and a nice addition to cap off a Hall of Fame career. Dyson Daniels has a different case of his own. But the Defensive Player of the Year historically has been a big man award. And with that being said, Mobley is probably the most deserving from a traditional point of view. He's been excellent, and so have the Cavs. Let me know in the comments who you think should win the award. And thanks for watching Sports Pantheon.